I also want to point out to you this sculpture, this on my right, Genestreaming Journey Sculpture, a collaborative work between Australia's First Nation artists, Ben Beaton and Marley Moore, First Nation leaders and engineers. Shaped like a budding flowers, it features First Nations art on the inside and naturalist artwork on the outside. Ben and Marley are also here today, and the work has been gifted to Gardens by the Bay, which we are eternally grateful. I will just have a few more people to thank, just to show the strong people to people's ties.
I think it's about a year ago that Felix first approached me and said that you were planning this Carnival of Flowers display here at Gardens by the Bay, and I couldn't have imagined then how much inspiration would go into this beyond just the flowers to the people-to-people connections that this will bring out. And I'm thinking of the work of the artists, I'm thinking of the work of the children who are involved from Canberra Primary School and from Rangefield State School in Toowoomba, and I'm thinking also of the artists. You mentioned Ben Beaton and Marley Moyer, who've done this beautiful work here, as well as Pei Lee and her paperwork, and Kim Wormsley, all of you who've done the work that all of you will see today, and it's absolutely marvellous.
Felix also mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again, as did Alistair. We're sort of repeating each other, but they're important points. And the point I'd like to make now is to just direct your attention to the right of the speaking area, to the Genestream. The Genestream Journey Sculpture and the people who made it. This initiative celebrates Australian First Nations cultures, celebrates scientific discoveries and the conservation efforts through sculptures. And while there's too many people involved in this project to name individually, I would like to thank the following: Ben Beaton, Marley Moore and Art of Nature School for the design, creation, scientific research and illustrations. Can you please once again thank Ben and Marley? So to Charlie Mort, Marita Ramia, thank you very much for being here and your support of the Genestream. Can you please give them a round of applause? And the final thank you, an important one, because it would not have arrived if it weren't for Qantas for freighting the sculpture to Singapore. Very difficult to put that on carry-on luggage. I know we had 33 delegates, but that still would have been a challenge. So can we particularly thank Qantas, and they're represented here today as well, so thank you for that. Now importantly, this will become, and thank you very much Felix, thank you very much Minister, this will become a legacy piece of our display, with the sculpture remaining here in Singapore, and a permanent reminder of this friendship that we have between Toowoomba region and Singapore. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge, as Felix has, First Nations artist Kim Wormsley for her creative talent and passion for the Australian First Nations art, which you will see beautifully brings the story of our region through her work. Thank you very much, Kim, indeed.
Split, right?
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen,
they are a link.
please put your
It's on the
hands together
sculpture.
to welcome
Okay.
our guest of honor, Mr. Zaki Mohammed, Senior Minister of State, Ministry of Defence and Ministry of Manpower, His Excellency Alistair Cox, High Commissioner of Australia to Singapore, Mr. Jeff McDonald, Mayor of Toowoomba, and Mr. Felix Lowe, CEO of Gardens by the Bay. Without further ado, may we invite Mr. Felix Lowe, CEO of Gardens by the Bay, to deliver his welcome address. Mr. Lowe, please.
By the way, the dome is closed for 1 hour this morning, especially for everyone. Enjoy the air conditioning. Senior Minister of State for Defence and Manpower, Mr. Zaki Mohammed, and his beautiful wife, Madam Hayani, thank you for gracing the occasion. High Commissioner for Australia to Singapore, His Excellency Alistair Cox. Mayor of Toowoomba Regional Council, Mr. Jeff McDonald. I understand you just flew in last night, especially to be with us. Thank you for being here this morning. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good day to everyone. And welcome to the launch of Carnival of Flowers, our first ever Australian themed floral display inspired by Toowoomba's Carnival of Flowers. Today's launch brings back many memories for me personally. I was just talking to your beautiful wife that maybe it was 7 years ago that I first visited Toowoomba under the invitation of your predecessor, Mayor Antonio. Some of you may not know, I think it's an open secret that we have a detachment in Toowoomba. And the mayor came to Singapore under the invitation of MINDEF and of course visited Gardens by the Bay, the #1 attraction. And I personally hosted him, and in return he invited me to visit the Carnival of Flowers. And then with a few group of colleagues we went there and we were just blown away by your carnival, and you have this float which unfortunately I can't replicate here. We were impressed by everything we saw, but more so by the hospitality. I remember you invited me to your home, and at that time, everyone was telling me you were the councillor then. And everybody whispering to me, this is up and coming. And congratulations on being appointed the mayor this month. By the way, it's 85% landslide victory. Toowoomba is known in Australia as the Garden City. That's what I found when I was there, by the sheer number of parks and gardens there. Singapore, as you know, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew also coined us as the Garden City. So when I was there, it was like homecoming. The name Garden City ties us like old friends. And indeed, this deep friendship extends to many other areas between Singapore and Australia, such as defense, economics, people-to-people relations. And of course, the Minister visited Queensland. In fact, yesterday night, if you were watching TV, there was a big article of soldiers who were training there. And for me personally, actually I was one of the pioneer batches of soldiers in Shorewater Bay. I don't know how many years ago. Those days, I think they don't have barracks. We have to put in tents and all that. And that's the first time I saw what having land meant to a Singaporean. In fact, when the exercise was cut, we spent more than half a day trying to get back to base camp. Everybody was racing for the R&R, and it was a long journey. And for us soldiers, also the first time we see kangaroos in wild. Actually, we're more interested in spotting a kangaroo than fighting our enemy, whoever imaginary it is. So today is a sweet feeling to finally pay tribute to our friendship and the opportunity to create a satellite version of your Carnival of Flowers at Gardens by the Bay. The original Carnival of Flowers, I understand, opened last week in Toowoomba. We are indebted to Mayor Jeff for making this happen. There was a year-long discussion between both sides, and to further cement this milestone, he gathered a 30-person business delegation to attend today's launch. Thank you, and welcome to all Australians who make your time to come to this small little bit launch. Today we are featuring over 8,000 plants from 30 varieties, including exotic-looking native Australian species like Waratah and Banksia, which you'll see later. There are also 14 different varieties of kangaroo paws, including those in uncommon color. You will notice them and see it really look like kangaroo paws. Have woolly tubular flowers that resembles a kangaroo's curved fingers. Anyone who has done business importing plants from Australia will know that Australia has one of the strictest phytosanitary regime. In fact, not easy to get plants out of Australia, and we are grateful. Apparently, I understand from my colleagues, there were some issues, but the Toowoomba Regional Council stepped in to assist us, and so be grateful to Mayor Jack for those kangaroo paws that you see later. Besides guiding our local team on the care of native plants, they also second a horticulturist from Toowoomba, Julie Studer, who spent 2 weeks at Gardens by the Bay working alongside our horticulturists to put together the flower display. Julia is here with us today, I believe. It's over there and back. In a sense, things have come a full circle because after the first trip in 2017, we signed a memorandum of understanding and we have a staff exchange. And in fact, our Grace Young participated in a 6-month exchange in Toowoomba, where she was also involved in the setting up of Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers. And over there, Julie and Grace worked together for that show. And now in Singapore, they are reunited to collaborate again. I also want to point out to you this sculpture, this on my right, Genestreaming Journey Sculpture, a collaborative work between Australia's First Nation artists, Ben Beaton and Marley Moore, First Nation leaders and engineers. Shaped like a budding flowers, it features First Nations art on the inside and naturalist artwork on the outside. Ben and Marley are also here today, and the work has been gifted to Gardens by the Bay, which we are Meanwhile, the digital artwork of Australia's First Nation Munjali artist Kim Walsley, who is also here today, showcased on areas such as the totem poles in the yarning circle, which you will see later. Also, there's also a Singaporean input to this. The artist, paper artist Pei Li, also painstakingly created detailed, whimsical interpretation of Australian flowers using paper, which are statement pieces on their own, and I invite you to see it later. And finally, in a virtual collaboration, students from Singapore's Canberra Primary School, for the namesake, and Toowoomba's Rangeville State School worked together. And actually no connection. I wonder, maybe we should look back at the history, why is it called Canberra? Worked together to paint almost 400 wooden ornaments of Australia, flora and fauna. And finally, before I end here, I'm excited to share that we have prepared a special item that will happen towards the close of today's program. As I said, we can't bring the grandeur of Toowoomba's float parade here, but I understand both communities have worked together to do something special, which you will see later. We hope you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Low. Next, we invite His Excellency Alistair Cox, High Commissioner of Australia to Singapore, to deliver his speech. Your Excellency, please.
Well, it's great to see so many people here today, and thank you for coming. And to Senior Minister of State Zaki Mohammed, Senior Minister of State for Manpower and for Defence, and your wife, lovely to meet you today, Harani. And to Jeff McDonald, the Mayor of the Toowoomba Regional Council, and to Felix Loeb, the CEO of Gardens by the Bay, and all of your team members. I think it's about a year ago, and all of the friends, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of friends from Australia here today as well. Thank you to all of you for coming. I think it's about a year ago that Felix first approached me and said that you were planning this Carnival of Flowers display here at Gardens by the Bay, and I couldn't have imagined then how much inspiration would go into this beyond just the flowers to the people-to-people connections that this would bring out. And I'm thinking of the work of the artists, I'm thinking of the work of the children who are involved from Canberra Primary School and from Rangeville State School in Toowoomba. And I'm thinking also of the artists. You mentioned Ben Beaton and Marley Moore, who've done this beautiful work here, as well as Pei Li and her paperwork, and Kim Walmsley, all of you who've done the work that all of you will see today. And it's absolutely marvellous. Toowoomba is a beautiful region. I'm sure Jeff will speak about it, but it's a region that's both in our Great Dividing Range, a very rich agricultural region, the Darling Downs, just west of Brisbane, and with very rich volcanic soils, which is why we get the beautiful flowers in spring that we do now. And it's a glorious region, and one that I do hope that the business delegation who's with you this week can promote in all of its glory. I think and this is, I think Felix mentioned that the festival just opened, the carnival just opened on the 13th of September, just like the other week. And actually, this is the oldest flower festival in Australia. It opened originally in 1950, so it's a very long-standing flower festival in Australia. There are now many copies, including in Canberra, but the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers is the original and the best still, and it benefits from that beautiful soil. But I think also the rich people-to-people links with this region are highlighted by the defence presence in this region. And just up the road from Toowoomba, only about 30 kilometres north of Toowoomba, is the small town of Oakey, where we have our Australian Army Aviation Centre, and it's been the home for 25 years for Squadron 127 of the Singapore Armed Forces or Singapore Air Force, with their Chinook helicopters there, which have meant over the last 25 years Singaporeans, and there are about 40 Singaporean service personnel there at any one time with their families, are really part of the community in the Toowoomba region. And Jeff was describing the emotions when the Chinook helicopters fly over during Anzac Day, for example. So the contribution, the community engagement by your people there is something really valued, and I think it's even more meaningful to have this Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers here because of those people-to-people connections between Australia and Singapore in this region. So I just wanted to again thank Felix and your team. Been having a lot of engagement with you over the months, and I wanted to thank the participants from the two schools from Singapore and from Toowoomba region who are here today. And I also wanted to thank the singers of the Australia-New Zealand Association who are going to sing for us. They came and helped us when we were in a bit of need at quite close to the end, and so we're very grateful to you for your contribution today as well. So like all of these things, it's a collaboration involving quite a wide range of people. And to you and the board members, to Sam Liu and John and other board members who are here today, thank you for all the work you've done. And it's great that after this while, because our garden, by the way, opened in 2012, so now it's a bit overdue, so it's good that we've now got an Australian display here. I mean, obviously, you've got the permanent Australian garden there, of course, but now to have this beautiful festival, Carnival of Flowers, I think it's really quite something. So thanks again for all the work, and we really look forward to having a look at the displays over the next hour or two. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Now, reflecting on both Felix and Alice's comments, I think today really marks a beautiful example of relationships. It marks what happened as a meeting, forming to a friendship, and then continue on to grow into what is today a fantastic collaboration and partnership. And that's what really today is all about. It is extra special, and I've mentioned on a few occasions, it's almost a pinch me moment that this is actually happening. From a discussion, a friendship that's developed into collaboration. Can I particularly acknowledge Mr. Zaki Mohammed, Minister of State and Defence and Manpower, and lovely to meet you as well. Zaki's wife, Marie. His Excellency Alistair Cox, thank you, Alistair, for your kind words, High Commissioner for Australia to Singapore, and thank you for mentioning the schools as well. A little plug for Rangeville State School, that was my primary school, so they'll be very pleased to see that they've been part of this as well. And to Felix Lowe, my friend Felix, CEO of Gardens by the Bay. Felix, your Enduring friendship is something that I value very much indeed. We regularly keep in contact, and this really is a beautiful example of how communication and working together can achieve great things, Felix. So thank you very much to you and all of your team, very much indeed. Can I acknowledge today also a couple of councillors that are here from Toowoomba Regional Council, Councillor James O'Shea, Councillor Tim McMahon, and also a councillor from Western Downs Regional Council, Councillor Kay Maguire. Can also acknowledge a couple of our traditional custodians from where we come from, Shannon Bowens and Artie Lyle Henderson. Thank you very much for coming along today. Felix and Alistair mentioned that we have some 33 delegates who've flown in last night to spend time at Singapore, particularly visit the Gardens by the Bay and be part of this celebration, but also to let Singapore know that we are ready to trade. And we are already in many places, but we're also open for business. We're willing to work with Singapore wherever we possibly can to help Singapore where they need some product and produce. So thank you to all of those, and I'll mention them shortly as well. Can I finally, as an acknowledgement, acknowledge all of those ambassadors that are here, but also particularly, and we've mentioned defence and the Singapore presence in our region, mentioned Colonel Kaching from the Defence Advisory, Singapore High Commissioner as well. Colonel, thank you very much for being here today. But to all of you, this is a very special moment for all of us to be part of, particularly those delegates who've come from Toowoomba Regional Council. The Carnival of Flowers display in the Flower Dome at Gardens by the Bay is an extraordinary way for us to celebrate 75 years of the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers, Australia's current reigning #1 major tourism event. So it's a milestone that we're very proud of. We are thrilled to see our region and festival take centre stage at the world's premier horticultural attraction. So I speak today on behalf of all of our delegates, but including 182,000 residents of our Toowoomba region, who are fiercely proud of our region, but are so very honoured that we have a presence here at Singapore Gardens by the Bay. So I'd particularly like to thank Felix, you and your team, very much indeed for the work that you've put in to ensure that this display is something that will be memorable for all of us and the many, many thousands of visitors that will see this. So Felix, again, thank you very much indeed. Felix mentioned and Alistair mentioned a couple of things, but I would like to reiterate a couple of those relationship building exercises that we've had. Toowoomba has had the pleasure of hosting Gardens by the Bay staff on 4 occasions, and including a 6-month exchange with Grace Yang, Senior Horticulturist. And Grace, it's fantastic to connect with you again today. Grace got a first-hand experience of the enormity of our Carnival of Flowers display. And this year, as Felix has mentioned, Julie Stoddart has spent the last couple of weeks here learning, sharing knowledge and assisting to set up this magnificent display. And I'm sure, as we've already discussed, she has learned quite a lot from her experience. So thank you to the team for making her feel so welcome here at Gardens by the Bay. It's particularly pleasurable to see Grace and Julie both here today, reliving and renewing their friendship that they formed in Toowoomba, and I'm sure, again, that will be an enduring friendship. So can you please thank both Julie and Grace. To give visitors a taste of the size of the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers, last year's numbers were record numbers. It went for 30 days in September, the full month of September, and we saw a record attendance of 400,000 visitors over those 30 days, and it's estimated that it injected close to $25 million into our economy. So it is a major event and a major economic driver for our region. This year, we've started the 75th Carnival of Flowers, started on the 13th, as Alistair mentioned, and goes through the 7th of October. And already this year, we're seeing record numbers of people visiting from all corners of the globe. And that's the benefit of having this display here in Singapore Gardens by the Bay, to encourage people to visit. So this year is set to be even bigger. Toowoomba Regional Council has partnered with our Economic Development Agency, Toowoomba and Surat Basin Enterprise, along with our tourism agency, Queensland Country Tourism, to make the most of this opportunity to grow trade and tourism between our region and Singapore. With those words, I'd particularly like to thank Peter Homan, the CEO of Queensland Country Tourism, Nilesh Prasad from Trade and Market Development Coordinator, Toowoomba Surat Basin Enterprise, and along with all of our operators who are here today to explore, grow and strengthen trade and tourism opportunities. The delegation from our region includes Morton Co, Gurley Free Range Pork, Waring Memories Wine Merchants, Inglewood Poultry, Floating Images, Barrel View Luxury Cabins, Bunya Peoples Aboriginal Corporation, Queensland Museum Cobb & Co, Western Downs Regional Council, Dear Vincent, Sonsier Estate, Ridgemill Estate, Toowoomba Wellcamp Airport and Wagner Corporation. Can you please give all of those delegates a round of applause? Felix also mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again, as did Alistair. We're sort of repeating each other, but they're important points. And the point I'd like to make now is to just direct your attention to the right of the speaking area to the Genestreaming Journey Sculpture and the people who made it. This initiative celebrates Australian First Nations cultures, celebrates scientific discoveries and the conservation efforts through sculptures. And while there's too many people involved in this project to name individually, I would like to thank the following: Ben Beaton, Marley Moore and Art of Nature School for the design, creation, scientific research and illustrations. Can you please once again thank Ben and Marley? This would not have happened without the support of Morton Co Fertilisers. Morton Co Fertiliser is a new product. It's an organic fertiliser for grasses and for flowers naturally. And Morton Co Fertiliser garden range was only launched at the Carnival of Flowers. In fact, they were in the parade on Saturday, just gone, in the parade. A great feature. It's a new organic product for green thumbs hitting the gardening scene and produced in the Toowoomba region. So to Charlie Mort, Marita Ramia, thank you very much for being here and your support of the Genestream. Can you please give them a round of applause? And the final thank you, an important one, because it would not have arrived if it weren't for Qantas for freighting the sculpture to Singapore. Very difficult to put that on carry-on luggage. I know we had 33 delegates, but that still would have been a challenge. So can we particularly thank Qantas, and they're represented here today as well, so thank you for it. Now importantly, this will become, and thank you very much Felix, thank you very much Minister, this will become a legacy piece of our display with the sculpture remaining here in Singapore, and a permanent reminder of this friendship that we have between Toowoomba region and Singapore. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge, as Felix has, First Nations artist Kim Wormsley for her creative talent and passion for the Australian First Nations art, which you will see beautifully brings the story of our region through her work. Thank you very much, Kim, indeed. The display, launched today at the iconic Gardens by the Bay, will place the Toowoomba region on the world stage and bring awareness of the natural beauty, stunning scenery and fresh produce to a whole new audience by taking a slice of Australia's longest running flower show to Singapore. I'm hoping this display awakens the interest of the world to reach out and explore our unique Toowoomba region. Again, Felix, this is a peach me moment. This is extraordinary, this is happening, and it's such a great pleasure on behalf of our region and all of those present here as delegates to be part of this very special occasion. And this friendship will continue to blossom, and I'm sure will create new ideas as they come forward. Thank you all again very much for being part of this very special occasion.
Thank you, Mayor.